Good evening. Welcome to LoveLogical, DNA Not Required. This is Michelle L. Anderson, coming to you live from PodcastDetroit, Royal Oak Studios. We are looking forward to intriguing and entertaining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Let me start today's show by saying thank you for joining our family, which is biological by nature, LoveLogical by choice, DNA Not Required. Well, welcome. This is Michelle Anderson, and I have a wonderful guest for you tonight. I have Stacy Shannon Johnson. Let's see, retired police officer, yes. Detroit Police Department. Inkster Police Department. I have, Stacy is a local playwright, and she is actually within the Detroit Public School System teaching your children about human sex trafficking awareness. Yes. So Stacy is a dynamic, LoveLogical sister of mine. I feel very blessed to have her here this evening, and this is going to be a very interesting conversation because many of us parents are concerned about our children being out here in today's world, especially within Michigan, because we're one of the top human sex trafficking states. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that our children are aware, which means that we need you, the parents, to be aware. And if you are a LoveLogical parent, you know, it is very detrimental for you to be aware when that child is within your care, because the mother, the biological mother, the biological father, you know, they're going to, you know, want you to have just as much or more awareness than what they do. Yes. And it's also a very good conversation for you to sit down and have, you know, a milkshake over, a smoothie over, yes. You know, yes. A glass of water, go to the water, sit down and talk about it, because it's a serious subject. Yes. And so many of our youth today, you know, they are independent, but unfortunately they can't have the level of independence that I had growing up in Detroit. Correct. You know, because I could catch the bus anywhere I wanted to.
I remember those days.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I remember
anywhere
those.
we wanted to go. Yes.
By myself on the bus and
yes.
catching it to the Masonic Temple for a summer job.
Yes.
Yes, I remember those days.
And I caught the bus from Chalmers and Jefferson all the way down to Cass Tech.
Wow.
Yes, and I'd go visit my friends on the west side, mm-hmm. Southwest Detroit, mm-hmm. everywhere on the bus. Yeah. But now I can't even imagine someone's, you know, a child being on the bus alone.
I totally agree. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because my neighbors, their daughter is in her, I think, third year of college. Mm-hmm. But at the time when they came to see A Dream Deferred, mm-hmm. our play about human trafficking, she was in her freshman year of college. And they told me, we want to go home and have a talk with our daughter. And I knew that their daughter was in college.
Yes.
But that's how the effect that I believe that was some of the great feedback that I received, because my children are still in middle school. But mm-hmm. Yes, that is a conversation, human trafficking, from the age, I would say about 10 mm-hmm. up until young adult age, college. Yes. And especially because, unfortunately, some girls they're lured into human trafficking by proposals, by people who promise them that they would take care of them, and through intimate relationships. So mm-hmm. I'm glad that you brought that up.
You know, I read the other day, I was reading an article, and I believe it was a CNN article. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But it was a very interesting article because it was talking about human sex trafficking, and it's an epidemic now within the United States.
It is.
And that the children are getting younger and younger, you know, and as young as, you know, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, a lot.
And yeah,
Not
go
to
on.
cut you
No.
off, and I'm glad that you brought that up, and that is just a sobering reminder of what is going on. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, and I hope that if people are tuned in to your Facebook page, that they will share this interview and this video. But the federal government did a raid here in metropolitan Detroit back in 2017. And in the raid, I remember, and it stood out to me because I talk about this a lot when I go into the schools, a 5-year-old child and a 6-month-old, the sibling of that child, a 6-month-old little girl, an infant.
Wow.
6 months old, sold into human trafficking by their aunt for $200.
Wow.
And so a lot of if people are not lured in, they're sold in to human trafficking by their families. Familial pimping is what I would say the better term is. And I normally keep this information to the last, but I would like to say that 95% of the people who end up in human trafficking, I would say 95% are lured in. I would maybe 5% are violently kidnapped, but 95% are lured in. Yes.
And when we say lured in, I know from what I was reading is social media plays a big role when it comes to our young ladies and
Yes.
young men,
Yes.
because a lot of people don't understand that our young men are being trafficked as well. It's not just the girls.
Yes.
I mean, it's a large percentage
Yes.
of girls as opposed to boys.
Yes.
But it is not just the girls.
I totally agree.
And my daughter, she really gets to the point where she's like, "Mom, you're constantly telling me," and I said, "I want you to keep this
Thank you.
at the forefront of your brain."
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Because we've had instances where people would hit her up on Snapchat,
Social media. Yes.
and they'd hit her up on Instagram based upon a picture,
yes.
and everyone has a good conversation. Everyone's interested in the same thing. But one of the things that was learned by my daughter and shared with me is when the first thing they want to do is they want to talk about "I love you" within a short period of time.
It's the grooming.
The
grooming.
and so they're trying to, just, send me a picture. They want to see how naive, someone is, and oh, you can meet me here, or you could this, and that's luring, people out of their homes. And so many of our young ladies now have low self-esteem.
Yes.
And when they think that they're being, when they think they're being flirted with, that's old school.
That attention.
Yes. They're getting that positive, what they consider positive attention.
Yes.
They're excited.
Yes.
Not even knowing that a lot of times they're being catfished.
Yes. Oh, we talk about that. That's part of our cyber safety.
Yeah.
And the kids laugh when I say that.
Yeah, they're being catfished.
But really, not too long ago, I was speaking with a group of 12-year-old girls, and she says, "Oh, well, there's a particular app," and she was telling me about the app. She says, "But they're little girls. They want to play." And I said, "How do you know?"
Yes.
How do you know they're little girls?
Yes.
How do you know it's not a 46-year-old sex offender?
Yes.
That just got out of prison that's looking for some fresh young girls to destroy their lives.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
I'm glad.
Yes. And then I'm sorry. And what's so crazy is we have young men within the metropolitan area that's picking up our young ladies for the purpose of selling them.
Yes.
They may meet them at the mall, they may meet them at a concert, they'll meet them somewhere, and they're getting, some $500, some a couple of $1,000, just to bring a female.
Yes, yes, exactly. And a lot of times, young runaways are at risk. Young people who may when they're out of foster care. That is a excuse me, that's a population that really touches my heart when they age out. And I know with LoveLogical,
Yes,
there's
you
a
know,
lot
that's
of relationships, right, with,
Yes.
with children in foster care. And that's a big, how do we remedy that? How do we find, that's what touches my heart to want to get more involved. But a population of young people who age out of foster care are at risk, homeless teens. Judge Deborah Thomas at Third Circuit Court at Frank Murphy, a lot of people know her being a strong advocate for human trafficking, and I was blessed to interview her for my play. And she says, you can't do a play or a movie about human trafficking unless you talk about the throwaway boys. And I said, what are throwaway boys? And she said, these are the boys who've been put out of homes, their parents' homes. It could be maybe they've come out with their sexuality, or it could be that maybe mom is in an abusive relationship, and maybe the young man has intervened and he has to go and has to be put out. So that is the way a lot of young boys are put in. Again, like you said, the mall is it's a breeding ground. The mall is it because they know that's where girls like to hang out.
Yeah, that's they're the prey. It's the hunting ground.
Social media is a breeding ground as well. It is, I would call, it can be a gateway. Because if I say it is a gateway, people go, what are you talking about? My kids on social media. Well, let's talk about that in a moment too.
Yes.
But social media can be a gateway for a young person to be trafficked and be lured, let me say, into trafficking through a pimp. What they call is the grooming. I'm going to read this definition.
No, that's
I don't know
fine.
by
Please
heart.
do. Please do.
Grooming is when someone builds an emotional connection with a child to gain their trust, or a young adult or teenager to gain their trust for the purpose of sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, or trafficking. Children and young people can be groomed online or face-to-face by a stranger or by someone they know, for example, a family member, a friend, or professional, or it could be a stranger. But one of the things, so many schools are beginning to call me. I'm really blessed to be able to go into schools and speak with staff and engage with the staff about human trafficking, because we have to raise the alarm. And I don't want to say that truancy, all kids that are truant from school and missing a ton of school are being trafficked, but let that be a red flag.
It's happening
if they're
more.
not in the hospital sick or in and out, because some children have catastrophic illnesses and they have to miss a lot of school.
Yes.
But if that's not going on, let that be a red flag to go a little further. But children are on social media, from my understanding. At first I heard it's about as young as I know 4th grade. I won't say what school, but I was on a field trip last year with students, and they were on a bus on Instagram. And I don't think I had it. I don't know if I had an Instagram last year. They were on Instagram and they were talking about dances. I'm like, these kids are on Instagram. I blew my mind, and my son was just kind of oblivious to it all. And then I went to another school, and they said we're going to pull down the, I think 3rd grade for this. And I said, that's two. And they said, no, they're on social media. I was told as young as 2nd grade.
They're on social media.
Media.
Now,
Now,
when you think about it, it's even younger than that, because even YouTube is considered a form of social media.
It is.
And children are watching videos on
Yes.
YouTube
Yes.
as when they're old enough to just look at the phone. Because YouTube has become a babysitter now
Yes.
for many children.
Yes.
So, and a lot of times people aren't paying attention to what the kids are really watching
I agree.
on YouTube, or what the true messages are in some of the cartoons that they're watching.
Correct.
Just because it's a cartoon.
Yes, and
You
a lot
know?
of cartoons start off as, cause they could take Peppa Pig,
Yes.
or I remember when my children were real young, the little boy Caillou. And they would start off as a decent cartoon,
Yeah.
and then next thing I know, I'm hearing foul language, and his voice changes like that or something like that. I'm like, what? And I go in his room, and I said, okay, I innocently gave him my iPad, and he was a little taller. He didn't know any better. So yeah, they're doing that through YouTube, but I no judgment here. No
No,
judgment here
none
when it comes to
whatsoever.
social
They just
media.
can't get to them
No,
the
no,
same way, but
no
yes, through
judgment here when it
YouTube.
comes to
But
social media. But with social media, we allow our children to get on social media, but and we tell our children, do not talk to strangers. We groom them from when they're old enough to understand. I don't know what age, I can't remember because they're bigger now, but do not talk to strangers. But when they get on social media, who are they speaking to?
speaking to strangers,
Strangers.
stranger danger
Stranger
has
danger.
a different it has a different meaning when
Yes.
it comes to social media because
Yes.
everyone is a stranger and people can get very close to your children
Exactly.
on social media without you realizing how close they are.
Yeah. Well, let's go a little step further. I heavily advise children do not give out your real name, give out a nickname, and I do not put your address and phone number in school. And I try, it's kind of hard because, we're excited when kids playing basketball, so we do put out jerseys and things like that, but try not to put out maybe the name of the team and things like that. And definitely at back to school time, we put out the pictures, try not to put out the back to school. But there's an app called Kick, and Kick is spelled K-I-K.
Okay. Yes.
And while doing research for human trafficking, at about, I would say, I must have went to 10 conferences, but I know at about 6, Kick is the common denominator for young people who were lured through human trafficking because it is so easy to break through the privacy and different things like that. It is easier for people to have access and pimps to have access through that particular app. But that app is, if I were a parent, I would be cautious of that app. And I tell parents all the time too, I tell students, your parents should have your password.
Yes.
That's number one.
And parents should be checking the phones
Exactly.
as well.
Checking your phones.
And you're
Google
looking for
search.
phantom apps.
Thank you. I'm glad that you
Yes.
brought that up. Vaults, where it looks like a calculator,
Yeah.
but you go and you click, and there's it could be
Yes.
pornography and
Yes.
some other things. So I totally agree. You are so on point. Check search history. But I know of a particular 8-year-old girl when she was 8 years old that was told she couldn't go on social media. And this young lady is so savvy and was hanging with an older cousin, and she learned how to access Twitter through a URL bar. So, yes, she had an account. She just wanted to be on social media. And so she was able to go through. So I always tell parents that their kids can access it. They don't need an app to access social media. Check their Google history, check their search history, check their inbox messaging, and check their phones when they're asleep. That is when I pry through phones. I look at because that phone tells me a story when they're asleep. Yes.
There's also, you can Google how to undelete deleted photos in the telephones. Because when my daughter was younger, she was about 13, and we were having issues with her with social media, and I asked her a question, and she answered it, but I could tell from her expression that I wasn't getting the truth. So I waited till she went to sleep, and I was up all night. I had 5,000 photos to download that had been deleted.
Wow.
5,000.
Wow,
and when she woke up in the morning, I presented all of her deleted photos to her.
Wow.
And that blew her away.
Wow. You have opened up another part of my brain.
Yeah.
To be on top of something and to
Yeah.
educate myself about that. Very
Yes,
good.
because parents need to look at those deleted photos,
Yes.
especially your younger children.
Yes.
Because they may always be taking selfies, but sometimes people are sending them pictures
Yes.
that that they should not be receiving.
Yes.
Young men nowadays,
Yes.
that they're begging for pictures. They're sending pictures to say, now it's your turn to send me a picture.
I got you. Okay.
And so the key indicator is, I love you. That they want to be in a relationship right away.
Wow.
Never met anybody like you before. And they're older guys. A lot of times trying to talk to these younger girls, but you also have to look at the same age, Because if they go to a different school, they're from a different city, they're whatever, why are they coming after you so heavy just from a social media picture?
Right, exactly.
And they don't know you from that picture.
Yes, yes.
So our young ladies really have to pay attention to that.
Right.
And with the young men, they get lured by older women.
Yes, that can easily happen. Yes, definitely. Yes, exactly. Because there are a lot of women who are attracted, pedophiles. They are attracted. And I always tell people molestation is not just male to male or male to female. It could be the female is the aggressor. I totally agree. I'm glad that we're talking about nude pictures because in the middle school, and I prefer to speak at elementary and middle schools. High school students, I mean, they pretty much know. I mean, I don't have a problem with going to high schools, but I prefer to try, as my father said, business sap when it's young. Really would be elementary school. But one of the biggest complaints that I do receive from principals and teachers are children who want to pose in their bikini or nude. That is a big problem.
And their bikini, their underwear.
Right, exactly.
Even if it's just an individual body shot.
Yes.
Just
Or a very sheer material where
everybody wants to be sexy.
Exactly. Well, what I have to remind children is that, and their children, in my eyes, they're babies. We'll talk about the digital footprint. So remind me to bring that up afterwards about how that can come back to haunt you in college or whatever. But pornography. There's a law on the books, the Michigan Child Pornography Law, and I tell them in part of my presentation, research the Michigan Penal Code Act of 328, Act 328 of 1931, and this is for a child under the age of 18. They're not covered under First Amendment. Because a lot of times kids are quick to tell you, I have a right. These are my First Amendment rights to be able to take a picture and send it to my boyfriend or send it to my girlfriend, especially our grown 15, 16-year-old students and young people. Yeah. But you don't have a First Amendment right. If you, let me just get this right. So a question may come up, and part of our slides is, what if my child shares a nude photo of themselves, just to their boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever? If they share, they are creating or distributing child pornography under the Michigan law. So the next question comes up is, what if my child receives? Because I remember there was a situation, remember when there was a young girl being sexually assaulted? And remember when that went viral in the Detroit Police Department? The media said, delete that immediately. I didn't want to see that. Somebody said that. I said, I don't want to see this. No. And I deleted. I said, don't send me this kind of stuff anymore. I mean, and someone was really concerned, but I said, I'll let the police do their job. And so delete that. But what happens if my child receives a nude photo or pornography, a video of their boyfriend or a classmate? What if one of the boys broke up with their girlfriend and they're sending her picture out? And that happens all the time.
Cyberbullying and everything. And
they are in possession. If they hold on to that and they do not delete it, then they would be considered in possession of child pornography. So that's one of the things that we share with our young people, but also a digital footprint. Because you were able to go out there on her phone, you found an app, but a lot of times kids will post something and then take it down. But I tell them, just because it came off of your timeline doesn't mean it's out of social, out of the cyber, the cloud. It's out there, and your posts, your pictures, can come back to haunt you when you go to college, when you go to apply for a job. And a lot of children, I had an assistant principal tell me his nephew lost a 4-year scholarship to a very good university because of his social media. And it's not about a fight. It's just saying, not having a filter and saying what we want to say. And recently, people have made comments about celebrities or the royal couple or whatever. People we're not free to just make and people would try to take it down. But unfortunately, those kind of things are coming back to haunt our students. And we don't want them to have hindsight. So we do talk about that. You don't want to put something out there. You want to think about that. And then the person that you're with can easily just break up with you and put that out there for revenge. So,
And you look at it out here today, and it's like people are so judgmental and vindictive,
yes.
and I just don't understand the negativity that's out here in the world. It's almost like people are feeding off of it.
Yes.
They're looking for it.
Yes.
And my thing is, what's wrong with being good to each other? Now it's to the point to where human sex trafficking is become the new drug dealer. In the article I was reading the other day,
You brought up my
they
brain.
were
Because I'm ready to. Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna let you finish. Yes.
the article was saying, because I do read a lot about
know
it.
you do.
I'm on the board of Save the Pearls,
Yes.
which the pearls are our children
Yes.
that's out here
Yes.
that's going through trauma
Yes.
or trafficking awareness for the parents. And this article was saying that a lot of the drug dealers are getting to a point to where it's like, why sell drugs where you could, easily get caught, or it's maybe a one-time sale when you can sell a child
Over and over again.
over and over again, sometimes 40 times in one day.
And I usually say 20 times in a day, but it could be more, 40 times a day. Yeah. And our bodies were not designed for that.
No.
And so, we lose a lot of girls out there too in human trafficking because of
Yes,
that.
yes.
A lot of gynecological issues or whatever. We do lose girls, for those kind of issues.
It made me cry, because they were saying that one young lady she was pregnant, and the pimp had her lay on her stomach, and he jumped up and down on her back until she had
Aborted.
a miscarriage. She aborted the
Definitely,
baby.
because she, unfortunately, that will get in the way of his business. It is a $32 billion industry.
Yes.
And with that, that's more than Starbucks and Nike put together. And definitely, I believe if it hasn't exceeded the drug business, it will in a few years. Women are going to be the leading pimps in terms of gender between male and female. But I believe that women are going to be the leaders in the pimping business. And ordering a girl is about as easy as ordering a pizza. And how long does it take for us to order a pizza? Not even 15 seconds.
That's what they were saying.
You call and say, not even 15 seconds, I don't think. Less than 30 seconds, I believe, to order a pizza. And so, yes, when I call it sounding the alarm, it's funny because I was out of school and it was quiet, but there were a few teachers checking papers and doing things and having little conversations. It was after school, and I know that they did not want to be there listening to the retired police officer. But when I said that you can use a girl up to 20 times a day, it got really quiet. And I start that always off in the beginning of my presentation. It got really quiet. I got the attention of a lot of people because people don't think about that. That's somebody's child, somebody that met a guy and wasn't thinking, didn't have her thinking cap on,
Right.
and met a guy at the mall. And he, unfortunately, met him at a store or whatever. And we see so many young people missing from home. We see so many young people in my timeline. There's too many almost to share. There's so many people that are walking away. And I think the USA Today did, I think it was 400 and some or 500 and something people that are missing. I think it was the USA Today. That article was going viral. Where are they? A lot of the babies are in human trafficking. A lot of the jobs that you see, telemarketing, modeling, you may see that posted on a telephone pole. A lot of that hair models, lashes. We're having a hair show and they entice girls that way or whatever. False pretenses.
Yes.
A lot of our people are caught up that way in human trafficking. And when I was talking to the 12-year-old babies about, and I wanted to know, what's going on in these kids' world. And I said, how many, don't say any names, but raise your hand if you know someone in your age group, they're 12, they're babies. And I said, some of them not even in puberty, but raise your hand if you know somebody that meets guys and sneaks out to meet a guy at the mall, or somebody that they met online, and the hands went up. I said, don't say their names, but the hands were going up left and right. And it is, police, we see the aftermath a lot, and I see some things that I cannot unsee. And sometimes law enforcement, we have to notify parents. We have to notify loved ones. We see them before they get dressed up and get in the casket. We see some horrible things, and I don't want to share that the carnage on air. But so I'm glad that God has put it on my heart to continue to sound the alarm, because the devil is busy. And this, for young people, back in the day in middle school, you listen.
Yes.
But now, maybe high school, you got maybe 18. I think, I was probably a little behind, so maybe 18, where I felt like I was really independent and I was away at college and I'm going to do my own thing. And girls were getting killed back in those days, but not like now.
No.
Girls were disappearing, but not like now. Girls were getting in the cars. We did some dumb stuff.
Yes.
You go to a party, drink a little bit too much, or meet a guy. We did but we could do dumb stuff back then. And live to talk about it.
There were bad people, yes, but now these bad people are in droves now.
Yes.
They're in
Preying
droves.
on our
They are.
They are
it's
preying.
a hunter going after the prey.
Yes.
And this I need to find this article. I know I saved it on my phone, but this article also talked about, the how the children are groomed to have relations at an early age, and how to bear the pain.
Wow.
And they're teaching these babies. And I'm talking about they're talking about 5-year-olds. And they're saying that the reason why the appetites have gotten so great for these children is because in today's world, what used to be considered as freaky is now normal. And they're pushing themselves, further and further. And the curiosity about the trafficking has opened up. And they're saying that you have professionals who are spending time buying these children, and this is getting younger and younger.
Well, it used to be they traveled to Thailand, and I remember working for United Airlines, and we knew a little bit about that. They would travel to Thailand for a young boy or a young person, or maybe in India, because trafficking is really bad over. And we go to, I know I've been to Punta Cana, and we love the Dominican Republic. It's beautiful, but trafficking is a huge problem over there, and tourists can go and get girls. And a lot of times when parents can't afford to take care of their girls, they sell them into human trafficking. But now, right on American soil, yes.
They said that it's so prevalent here in the United States now. There's no need to travel to go anywhere, because anything that you could get before is available right here, right now in the United States, and it's in all of the states. And it's not just in major cities. They talked about traffickers that actually go out on the migrant circuit, and they take the girls from one farm to another farm,
undocumented,
so that the workers can actually spend money to be with these girls, and that blew me away.
Right. Bus drivers, and even though bus drivers are educated on that, but definitely that they work bus stops. When we talk about human trafficking, we talk about two types of trafficking: labor trafficking and sex trafficking. And I do talk about undocumented people in this country now more than ever are what word do I want to use? Are very they're a very vulnerable population, and one of the human trafficking conferences, Councilwoman Brenda Jones hosted in Southwest Detroit. And so I got a chance to learn that a lot of people are afraid to call the police.
They are.
In certain parts of the country, and even in our city. They're afraid. And so their daughter, because that time that a child walks away, that's a very critical time.
It's a
right,
very
exactly.
critical, important time.
Yeah.
As soon as you know your child is not where that child is supposed to be,
then the police can get out and look. But if you're afraid to call the police because you are not properly documented, and then that's groups of people that would be easily lured or easily victimized through human trafficking.
But Stacey, but look at how many people within our own community that don't trust the police and don't want to call the police. That will waste a lot of time going out there themselves looking, and then you have so many people who don't trust the police, whether they think that the police is not going to do anything anyway because you keep hearing about the time that you have to wait before you can file a missing police report.
You're right.
And then you don't see half of the kids that's missing unless you're on social media and you just happen to see a post posted by a parent that their child is missing. But you look at the local police department site and there's nothing about that child being missing. So what are people supposed to do?
And it depends on the police department train people that can put those pictures up. Also, Amber Alerts, and that's one of the things I had to deal with in my play. That's one of the things that I had to deal with in law enforcement, because Michigan State Police, not Detroit Police, and not Inkster, and not Hazel Park or Redford, they don't set the criteria for they don't set the criteria for an Amber Alert, Michigan State Police. And a lot of times it's a smaller child. It wouldn't be normally a teenager unless maybe there's some serious medical issues or different things like that, or mental. But a child that has walked away before, they won't meet the criteria at all.
And there are some young ladies where you see them 3-4 times where they did the same thing the year prior, but still.
And they do. They deserve as much attention as a child that's been kidnapped. But unfortunately, the police manpower and things like that. And it's just unfortunate that that's a child that we should be out looking for as well. And I do get that. I understand that. A lot of times people feel like it's a racial thing, but it's not. It is just the criteria set because of the age. A lot of times, it's an epidemic. But we just have to continually have these conversations with our young people about, and there are kids that come from very good homes.
Very good homes.
Just because a child is missing or walks away doesn't mean that they come from an abusive home. It's just for whatever reason, and I'm learning for whatever reason, I'm very sensitive about that some kids, for whatever reason, become vulnerable. There's some people are more vulnerable than others. And no matter, even sometimes when parents have spoken to their child, for whatever reason, they trust that person. They've been groomed, and they trust, and they do easily walk away in our lure. Let me say this too, that your child's friend can also pimp and lure your child into. So it's not just a man or a grown woman. It could be their friend that could lure them in, and so that's popular as well. And so boyfriends and different things. And so it's an epidemic. I won't name the schools, but there are a few schools. A lot of some girls can be trafficked on the weekends or after school and brought right back. Especially if you think your child is at track or volleyball, or some other type of sport, or the chess club or whatever. Your kid could easily, and that was going on at a particular school.
But wouldn't that be voluntary on the child's part?
Well, when an adult is taking that child away, and she's a minor, and that person is over the age of 18, whether they're male or female, and I know what's going on, a principal disclosed that to me at a school when it was open in Detroit. That particular person he and his friends would pick the girls up and give them expensive gifts and money, and they would have sex after school. They were being trafficked,
Yes.
but they were being brought back. And then there are girls that it's easy to traffic on the weekend because I'm going over such and such house.
And
They're
it's
going to
just-
come pick me up. And if you're not attentive, if you're not, the kid doesn't have to come in, Mom, I'm gone, and they out the door, and you're on social media or you're in the kitchen
Paying
cooking,
attention.
and you're not paying attention, it's easy for a man to pick up our daughter.
So modern prostitution, basically.
On the weekends.
Yes.
And I'm going to visit such and such, and she's just being trafficked on the weekends.
But my thing is, you have to, parents, you have to pay attention to what your children are bringing home.
Yes.
You know, if your child's coming
Ask
home
questions.
with expensive
Come
clothes,
on.
with purses,
Tattoo.
you know.
Let's talk about branding.
Oh,
And
yeah,
okay.
yeah. No,
okay,
no,
now,
you
so
got
I didn't
it.
mean
No,
to-
no, no,
you
you
know
got
my
it.
branding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
no, I'm serious.
Branding, because
you know,
a
because
good
they do
pimp
get
will
branded.
A
Yes.
good pimp will brand
Yes.
their child. You know what I tell people, because in Inkster there's a lot of motels, so there's a lot of prostitution there. I did a little bit of undercover prostitution for a moment in Inkster, but
Stace.
yeah, that was an exciting time in my career.
I'm sure
I
it
learned a lot.
was.
Anyway, so branding is, so if your child comes home with some type of unexpected, or some type of tattoo or whatever, and it doesn't have to be his name.
Right.
It could be some type of symbol
symbol,
or whatever.
yes.
But those, that's very popular. Brands or tattoos, like you say, money, clothes. My mother called it contraband. If you come home with things that she didn't buy, and if you didn't take it back, it was outside. Mama, why did you? Because I didn't buy it. It's
Yep.
contraband.
I wasn't allowed to bring something home that my mother knew that wasn't purchased.
Yes.
You know, I couldn't even exchange clothes with girlfriends. A lot of your girlfriends, they would swap clothes and everything.
wasn't.
I couldn't do
No,
that.
I couldn't either. I didn't know what that was all
No,
about.
I
Unless
couldn't
it was,
do it.
I couldn't even do it with a relative. Yeah,
Right.
You're right
you
about
know?
that. Yeah.
And then people have to watch out. And that brings up another thing. You really have to be careful who your children are hanging out with. Because some of the things that I learned
Yes.
early on in my teen years came from hanging out with my cousins.
Yes. Exactly.
You know,
Yes. Oh, don't
and
I know?
that's where your family trusts.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I know a
Yes.
young lady, not gonna say any names, of course,
Right.
who learned how to smoke weed
Oh yeah.
at 13 years old
Yes.
from her cousins.
Yes.
See, they
Yes.
some
Easy.
people find that funny, but it's not funny
It's
to
not.
ruin a child's life
Right.
because this child doesn't even want to go to school.
Yeah.
This child doesn't want to do anything
Yes.
but get high,
Yeah.
and actually was trying to sell it herself. You know, and it's like, and yes,
And our children are so impressionable, especially girls.
Yes.
And even boys, depending on who gets them involved. A cool aunt or a cool uncle or that big cousin.
Yes.
And it's so easy for them to groom the child into these kind of behaviors.
It
yes.
is.
Oh, yes, definitely.
and you know, you have parents, like you said, that's selling their own children out here.
Yes.
So it's just, Lord help them.
Yeah.
But those of us who have kids, talk to your children.
Yes.
Talking to your blue in the face.
Yes.
Go on Google. Figure out how to undelete those
Yeah.
those
Learn
pictures in
something
that
new today.
phone.
Yes.
And take the patience. I was up, when I say I was up all night, this was a work night. I was up all night long and presented them in the morning, gave her something to think about while she was at school.
Yes.
And I was working through the day thinking, this is going to be a heck of a conversation when I get home.
And we didn't have cell phones back then.
No.
And so the most that my mother would do is search her rooms, flip up
Yeah.
find my brother's
look up
girly
like-
magazines or something like that, and flip up, some DVDs or VHS back because
Yeah.
that's my age, or flip up, my mother would tell us we thought she was going, to work, but she would find things in the house. That's how my mother was an excellent detective. But I tell all of the students, you have no Fourth Amendment right, and that is not your room.
Oh, people in
That's not your
today's
phone.
world,
That's not your room.
These
That's
kids,
not your TV, your remote.
Yes.
Those are not your clothes.
But
your
the
parents are
a lot
kind
of
enough
parents
to.
now are trying to be friends with their
No,
kids.
no.
And I grew up there is no right to privacy.
No, not at all. No.
If there's something that I want to know,
Correct.
I'm coming in your room.
Exactly.
But kids nowadays are locking parents out of their rooms.
Not at all.
And it's like, come on now.
Yeah, there are no Fourth Amendment, and we have to talk about that in the schools. And there are no Fourth Amendment. You don't pay for anything there. I mean, unfortunately some parents do put things in their kids' names. Now I found out about that. That is just
that's
absolutely
sad.
Horrible.
Utilities and everything else where they're 18 and they have bad credit.
Exactly.
Yes.
But there are no Fourth Amendment rights in that home. There aren't, and parents. If a parent is concerned and they love their child, they're nosy, and they are going to, and they should be on the phone checking every app, because there are vault apps. Check every single app. Check their Google history. Check, because the police will. If your child went in the room and built the bomb, or bought some guns and took them to school and shot up the school, or got in trouble, doing some other things, selling drugs, whatever.
You should know.
The police will do it definitely.
Yes.
And so we need to be intrusive. If we love our children, we'll be intrusive. And I had the best teacher was my mom. The best teacher, because she knew some things about us we thought we had hidden, or she would make surprises at the school, and she show up and you think you saw a ghost, like what the, but. And the good nosy neighbors, those are the best as well, because
you don't have neighbors
I
like
see
that,
such
like
and such going in out, and she would give a good description of who, and they didn't have cell phones, but she had my mother's work number, and that's when neighbors were neighbors, and not stay out of my business, and you can't say nothing to my child.
Don't say anything to my child, and take the child's word over an adult's word.
When we've got so offended, and there are people who probably would speak up and see your kid out there about to be trafficked, or somebody about to take them, and they want to say something to you, but they can't because you done cussed them out about stepping on the grass or something like that. Yeah.
So we got about 10 minutes here.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I know it went fast.
I'm having
doesn't
fun.
it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, and LoveLogical parents, do not be afraid to speak up.
Yes.
You don't have to be friends. You do not have to be friends with your LoveLogical children. The thing is, you are a parent as well. Love them as you love your own. Talk to them as you talk to your biological children. If you're not sure what to say, reach out to someone and just Google the information and share the information. You have Save the Pearls. You have Vista Maria. You have Sanctum House. You have go on.
I can't think of it. I'm sorry.
No.
I can't think of the name of the place.
Which one? I'm trying to think which one you're thinking of.
Alternative for Girls.
Alternative for Girls. Yes. There's so many organizations out here to help.
Yes.
And I live in Rochester. And one of the teachers shared with my daughter that Rochester was a breeding ground. And we had an instance with my daughter where when she went to Walgreens that night, and I was telling you that, it was put on my heart to go to Walgreens. And I go in there and this guy is following her around. My first thought was, no, she didn't sneak up here to talk to some guy. But then as I looked at him, I know how she don't deal with anybody that's old, too old. And he was uncomfortable when I came in. But as she and I worked our way to the register, the cashier told her that he said he was waiting for her outside. And she was like, who? She didn't, and she was like, why? And then she asked if you knew the girl that was with him earlier and found out that some young lady had been in the bathroom crying for an hour. And they didn't even call. For police. They asked her if she was all right. She said he wouldn't take her home. Then he ended up coming back in, telling her he was going to take her home, but he had to make a few stops. And she was from Lake Orion. And I'm asking them at Walgreens, why didn't you call the police?
Exactly. So that they could have her parents pick her up.
Right.
Yep.
Well, she left with him. Crying
And
in the
she's crying.
bathroom
That's a
for an
red
hour
flag.
is a red flag.
And a lot of
so we
time-
gotta be alert and pay attention to our babies.
A lot of times police, and that's some of the training we went through, and I went through training taught by a hospital, social workers, counselors, police, even police officers, we don't often know the right things to say. We
Right,
don't
right.
often know what to say in the questions, how to gauge to see, because people that are traffic blend in. They can be right at Myers, Walmart, Saks Fifth Avenue, in the mall, eating out, wherever. You wouldn't even know it. And maybe that child that you think that's in the gang, or that child you think that's just a prostitute and free to come and go whenever they want, or work independently, or maybe have a pimp, or maybe a child that's truant. You think that they blend in. You wouldn't know that they don't look totally different. They're at the gas station paying
Right.
for gas.
They're pumping gas.
They're out.
They're
I mean, we can't go up
pay
to people and be
attention to
like,
how
"Hey, are
No.
you in?" But yeah.
But to protect yourself, children have to pay attention with how they're going home.
Someone's crying,
Pay
right?
attention to who's behind them.
we're talking
When you're
self-awareness.
driving home, you drive in different directions, and it's not
Never
the
take
car
the same
that's
route.
always behind you.
Yes.
It could be 3 cars behind you
Yes.
because take an extra turn.
Yes. Yes. Go a
Just
different
so
route.
that you can see if this car is really following you. Pay attention to that intuition that has been given to you. Teach this to your children.
I
Don't
tell-
send a child to the store alone.
Wow. Okay. That's
You
gonna,
know?
boil my blood right there. Right. But I tell children in elementary school, criminals look for opportunity and don't give them an opportunity. Well, what's that? Walking with headphones on, walking down the street
Yep.
with headphones on,
in your ears,
headphones in
looking
your
down.
looking down, texting,
Not paying attention
not
to your
paying
surroundings.
hoods and texting, and your peripheral is blocked. Just not paying attention, right? Just like you said, and that is what a good criminal looks for, is opportunity. And we were working in the jail, we bring young people in, and they'll tell you in a minute, oh yeah, opportunity, definitely. And when we don't give them opportunity, and the kids say, well, what about a weapon? Do I need a weapon? I say, your greatest weapon is you all can outrun most adults, and you can scream. And that is your biggest weapons. And being alert, scanning, looking around. Don't just walk out to school. Don't just walk out and don't take the alley. A child told me he was robbed in the alley. I said,
Why
if
was
you
he in
take
the
the
alley?
exactly, don't take shortcuts.
No.
Take familiar routes so that people can see what's going on. And if you have to scream, don't be afraid to scream. Run.
Fight.
Yes. Fight. Exactly. Use those cell phones if you can. If you
Yes.
see something you can record or video or take a picture or whatever. You want to, but most importantly, get away. But number one, I see so many kids out late at night, roaming and just walking down in the middle of the streets, or just walking just out late at night.
I said it's not. I what drives me crazy is driving at night, and there's some teenager, usually a boy, walking across the street wearing all black,
Yeah. Oh,
hood
we
on,
talk about that too.
all black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
it's-
driving,
and
and
every-
it's like, to me,
They don't. They
that's,
can't.
that's
and
suspicious to me.
I know we probably have to close, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yes.
they're testing people. They don't have the test out, because if somebody has smoked a lot of marijuana or drank a lot of liquor or a combination of both or some other narcotic, or the reaction time to stop is slow. And you don't see that figure darting out. And I live near a very busy street, and it is so easy that people dart out, and if they're not crossing at the crosswalks, yes, to hit somebody. And unfortunately, that's another news story. And back in the day, people didn't get killed and hit and killed like they do now. But people are, if we take a poll at how many people are on their phones while they drive, I've been guilty.
I have
Shouldn't.
too.
I don't do it often, but I've been guilty.
But,
Yeah.
and
But how
before,
mu-
as we get ready to close here, parents, pay attention to your
Yes,
children.
please.
Pay attention to them.
Pray over them.
And talk to them about, human sex trafficking.
Yes.
Because they need to know
Yes.
this is a whole different world than what it was even 5 years ago.
Yes.
This has grown to the point of enormity.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
And the stranger danger talk should it goes on up into college, because now you can date somebody that can bring you into the world of human trafficking.
Yes.
And so that stranger danger talk, even dating.
And they're patient.
Those talks, yes.
They're patient.
The grooming process. Yes.
Don't be so fast to go over someone's house. Don't be so fast to bring someone to your house.
Yes.
Mothers, single moms, single dads. Be careful who you're bringing around your children.
Yes.
Make sure that your children are protected by you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have the young lady who left her child with the ex-husband who she said he was violent anyway. Stop leaving your children with people who you don't really know. Yeah. You could date someone for a few months. You don't know them enough for them to watch your children for you.
Correct.
I'm very, and my daughter's 17. Yeah. And I'm very finicky about who she's around, and I don't bring people to my house.
I don't blame you.
And the locators on children's phones.
Oh, yeah.
Be careful with what location, with the locators on the phone that other people can see. For you to be able to see it is one thing, but for someone else to be able to see it, that's another thing. And there are apps out here where you can mirror your children's phone so that you know where they're going, what apps they're looking at, how many times they got on Instagram, how many times they got on Snapchat, how long they were on there, so you could tell what they're doing while they're in school during the day.
Yeah, my little girl did tell me that there was an app where her mother knows when she's left the home and where she's going.
You see the dot move.
Yeah, and she told me about that. And she was like, oh no, my mom knows where I am.
Yes.
So there was a sense of pride. Yes.
So you because she knows her mother loves her.
Yes.
It's not being nosy. It's called being a parent.
Yes. It's wonderful
you want to know
be
where
intrusive.
your children are.
A good parent is intrusive.
I love to find my iPhone app. Yes. I do. I've had to use it.
Yes.
Someone took Janelle's phone in school. Yes, things happen in Rochester.
Yes.
And they walked out the classroom with her phone. And the Find My iPhone app put this loud noise on the phone. The camera came on. You see the picture of the person who has the phone. And they had no choice but to run back to where they got it from.
Surrender, right.
They had no
exactly
choice.
Right.
I love that.
Yes.
So just use the apps.
Yes.
Stop putting a phone in front of your baby's face at soon as they're able to look at it.
1 year old kids can, they know how to figure out a phone at one.
Stop introducing your children to sex at 2 and 3 because you're playing video games where people are being raped and stuff. Play video games away from your kids. Don't put a video game in their hand where they're killing people before they even know what reality is.
Yes.
Because you make these children susceptible
they're very
to
sensitive.
things that they're not ready for.
They're very sensitive, yes. Yeah, and pretty much keep them on cartoons for as long as you can and heavily monitor. We have different things that they can and cannot look at, and they want to, kind of graduate, and you're not ready for that. We tell them no, not yet. Yeah.
But I really love what Stacy said about tell them about the new stranger danger. It's not just about what's going on in your school or whatever, but it's also on the internet. And I do have to get ready to close here, but I also want to say is the reason why you don't want someone to know what school your child goes to, because what they'll do is they could take a picture of your child from the internet and they go up to the school and say, I'm here to pick up my cousin. Do you know, or my sister or my brother, do you know where they are? And kids are going to point that person out. So kids walk home from school by themselves. They get off the bus by themselves. So be careful.
Or he can be down the hallway and the children will let that stranger in and point him out and show
They'll
him.
point
People
him out.
don't go to the office anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw something like that not too long ago.
So this is important. And we're going to have Stacy back
please
in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I love that. I love hanging with my girl.
We have so much that we can, So I have Stacy back in about 3 weeks. The next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about trauma, and next week we're going to talk about trauma brought upon our children, not just through physical abuse, but emotional trauma as well.
Oh, that ought to be a good
and
show.
Then the following week we're going to talk about adult trauma, that where it can come from childhood trauma, but also that adult trauma that can be brought on through domestic abuse, through, just a lot of different things. So we have to close up.
I have a good
Thank
book
you,
for
thank you,
Yeah,
thank you. And have a wonderful night.
Yes, you too.
Stacey, we're
Yes.
going to get that date on there
Yes.
for 3 weeks.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to
All
that.
right.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.